I show a lot of love on this channel to great Asian-born baseball players. We've done deep dives on Seiya Suzuki, Hideki Matsui, Kodai Senga, Masataka Yoshida, just to name a few. We're always showing love to Japan and South Korea, but never really giving that same appreciation to Taiwan. Why is that? Well, there's not exactly a ton of love to give. The lineage of baseball in Taiwan runs deeper than you might think, with the country winning 20 Little League World Series championships from 1969 to 1996. Despite baseball being the national sport of Taiwan, we have not seen many Taiwanese players cross over and try and make it into MLB. Yu Chang is the only active Thai MLB player right now, and you may recognize a name like Wei Yin Chen from his good seasons with the Orioles, but in reality, there's only been one truly noteworthy name in this select group of just 15 men. His name is Chien-Ming Wang, and he used one incredibly effective pitch to nearly win the Cy Young in just his second year in the big leagues. His rise happened as quickly as his descent, and he's a baseball story that may never happen again, so we should talk about him. Before we dive into his story, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you've been enjoying the recent videos, all that good stuff. Also, leave a comment like this one, and maybe I'll make a video about your favorite player next. But without further ado, let's talk about Chien-Ming Wang. Chien-Ming Wang was the first Thai player to truly succeed at the highest level of this sport, but when you look at his profile, you wouldn't assume he was bound for success. He signed with the Yankees as an amateur free agent at just 20 years old, but didn't blow anyone away. He threw in the low 90s and didn't have a devastating breaking pitch, but what he did have was a hard sinker. Wang wasn't putting up huge, even normal strikeout numbers, but what he was producing was loads of soft contact. Wang posted a 1.75 ERA for single-A Staten Island, the second lowest in franchise history. He started turning heads after a strong 2004 campaign in AAA, where he threw 149 innings with a 3.5 ERA. This earned him a spot on the Yankees roster come 2005, and along the way, he never had a K/9 rate above 7.5, and used the ground ball as the main vehicle to eat away innings and get quick outs. He made his debut on April 30th of 2005 and went 7 innings deep in a win against the Blue Jays. He'd exit his first start without recording his first strikeout, gathering all 21 outs with balls in play. Through the first 8 games of his career, Wang struck out just 17 batters in 48 2/3 innings, but kept his opponents to just a .610 OPS against. In the modern age of many starters developing sinking fastballs, this wouldn't be looked at as too unique. But even just 20 years ago, Wang's profile was fascinating to those who were used to Clemens and Randy Johnson types. After Wang dealt with some injuries that kept him off the mound for most of July and all of August, he returned in the final month of the season just in time for the Yankees' upcoming playoff run. In just the 16th start of his career, Wang pitched 8 innings and set a new MLB record for assists in a game by a pitcher with 9. For what he lacked in velocity and strikeout potential, he made up for in yielding soft contact and fielding his position exceptionally well. He finished the 05 season with an ERA a shade above 4 in 17 starts, establishing himself as a key piece of the Bronx rotation going forward. He did all that with just a 3.1 K/9, if you can believe that. The Yankees entered a big ALDS against the Angels, their first playoff series since their historic loss to the Red Sox a year prior. Despite being a rookie, Wang got the nod for Game 2 behind Mike Mussina, and he pitched well, throwing 6 2/3 innings with only 1 earned run allowed. But a trio of errors allowed the Angels to put up 4 runs total, allowing them to tie up the series they'd eventually win in 5 games. It was a bitter end to the season, but an exciting teaser for a big 2006 for Wang. After stumbling out of the gate in his first 2 starts that year, Wang announced himself again with a shocking 8 strikeout performance against the Twins in mid-April. 8 strikeouts doesn't sound like a lot, I know, but this was a career high to that point for Wang. Plus, he had struck out just 5 or more batters just once in the season prior, and he'd do so again just one more time in this 33-start year. This was a big deal. In a year where Randy Johnson had an ERA of 5 and Jarrett Wright and Sean Chacon were making key starts, the Yankees desperately needed great performances from both Mike Mussina and Chien-Ming Wang, and needless to say, both delivered. It must have been a ton of pressure for Wang, but the lights certainly weren't too bright for the Taiwanese superstar. After pitching to an ERA above 4 in the first half of 34 games that season, Wang had a very strong second half. From June 28th to the end of the season, he managed a 3.17 ERA in 16 starts, averaging 6 2/3 innings pitched per start. And of course, he led all qualified pitchers in ground ball rate during this time frame by a sizable amount. He was an absolute workhorse, and for a team built on a stellar offense, okay bullpen, and very shaky rotation, he was a godsend. Baseball was already the national sport of Taiwan at this time, but during Wang's peak, the media circulation was blowing up, and he was becoming a global superstar. For the whole year, his 62.8 ground ball rate was the highest in the American League that year and only trailed Derek Lowe and Brendan Webb for all MLB pitchers. In the first 3 seasons of his career, the only years where he threw over 100 innings, he maintained the highest ground ball rate in the AL here as well and still trailed the same 2 men. This of course was because of his bowling ball sinker, which received high praise around the league. His teammate Andy Pettitte called it an ultimate weapon, like Yohan Santana and his changeup. It's the best sinker I've ever seen. In addition to keeping the ball on the ground, the other key to Wang's success was keeping the ball in the ballpark. He had far and away the lowest home run per 9 rate of any MLB starter in 2006, with his 0.5 rate thanks to just a dozen bombs allowed in 218 innings. Wang did hold the second lowest strikeout to walk rate of anyone in MLB that year at a crazily low 2.7%. For reference, in 2022, the lowest rate belonged to Marco Gonzalez at 6.8%, and he was the only qualified starter in MLB to be below 10%. A pitcher like Chien-Ming Wang quite literally does not exist in the modern game. Out of all pitchers to throw at least 200 innings in a season since 1995, he holds the lowest strikeout total of any of those starters. He struck out a measly 76 batters in 218 innings for the Yankees, good for just a 3.1 K per 9 rate, also the lowest of anyone in that group. Despite Wang having a somewhat average 3.63 ERA, this was still good for 15th best in MLB and 7th best in the AL. For reference, a 3.60 ERA equates to 2 earned runs allowed every 5 innings on average. So how did a guy who never struck out anyone and didn't have an elite ERA or WHIP finish runner-up for the most prestigious award for pitchers in baseball? Well, how about 19 pitcher wins? Yeah, we're dealing with that era of the voters committee, the time where people still really cared about wins. Now, granted, I still think winning 20 games in a season is a cool feat. Is it indicative of talent? Not really, but still a feel-good counting stat in my opinion. Wang led all of MLB with a staggering 19 wins in 2006, tied with Yohan Santana, and this came despite just having 7 wins halfway through the season. Wang won 4 games in each of July, August, and September, going 12-3 in the second half. Look, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that Wang had some world-bending, dominant ace season. His case for the Cy Young is not especially strong, as highlighted here by his American League ranks from 2006. Still, Wang ranked 5th in innings pitched, 7th in ERA, 13th in walk percentage, and was top of the league in home run per 9 and ground ball rate. That's enough of a case for me. But with all that said, the guy had a formula, and not only was it working well, it boded well for long-term success too. Plus, a Taiwanese player reaching the heights that Wang did was massive for that country in a sport that they loved dearly. It's a very cool story, even if baseball writers' brains were smoothed over by 19 pitcher wins. But come the playoffs, the Yankees once again were a first-round exit. This time around, Wang got the game-1 ball, and rightfully so. He got the win against the Tigers with 6 2/3 innings of 3-run ball, but this would be the only game in the ALDS New York would win, as they dropped 3 in a row to end their 2006 season quietly. This was certainly the apex of Wang's career, though at just 27 years old entering the 2007 season, I'm pretty sure many fans expected him to be around in the majors for the foreseeable future. After starting the year injured, Wang returned on April 24th and pitched the rest of the season healthy, making 30 starts and pitching just a shade under 200 innings. There aren't as many highlights from his perfectly solid 2007 campaign, but the first came on May 5th, where Wang brought a perfect game all the way into the 8th inning against the Mariners. After striking out 7 batters total in 21 innings combined in his previous 3 starts, Wang brought the good stuff against the Mets, striking out 10 batters and coming 1 out shy of a complete game. This was by far the best single game strikeout total of his career and indicative of a slight shift in his game. This was the only year of his career where he struck out over 100 batters total, and his 4.7 K per 9 rate was a full unit higher than his career average to that point. It was a solid season for Wang, similar in ways to his Cy Young campaign from the year prior. He wouldn't get the votes this time around, but remained just as important to the Yankees' success. But in his third go at playoff pitching, he imploded against Cleveland, getting the ball in both Game 1 and Game 5 and losing both games. He allowed 12 earned runs in 5 2/3 innings and was the main reason that the Yankees lost the ALDS in 4 games. And this is the part of the story that goes from fun and intriguing to just frustrating and downright sad. 2008 got off to a well enough start. Wang sat atop the depth chart ahead of both Pettitte and Messina. He twirled a 2-hit complete game against the defending champion Red Sox. His win against the White Sox 2 weeks later made him the fastest major leaguer to record 50 wins as a starter since Doc Gooden. And then, that damned Houston game. Nothing good happens to the Yankees when they play the Astros. Even a a decade and a half ago. Wang was cruising at Minute Maid Park with 5 scoreless frames and no walks. But if you recall, the Astros were a National League team back in 2008, which meant no designated hitter in the lineup. Yep, pitchers hitting and running the bases. Wang bunted his way on base, and then later with the bases loaded, Jeter hit an RBI single, bringing Wang home. Running the bases, he hurt something in his right foot and needed to be helped off the field. His night was over, but more importantly, his season was over at this moment. He tore multiple ligaments in his right foot, and though it wouldn't require surgery, the rehab process would end his season. The Yankees sputtered that year, finishing in third and missing the playoffs for the first time in 15 years. Hal Steinbrenner expressed his disgust with the pitcher batting rules in the NL, saying, "Am I mad about it? Yes, I've got my pitcher running the bases, and one of them gets hurt. He's going to be out. I don't like that, and it's about time they address it." That was a rule from the 1800s. When Wang returned in 2009, his mechanics were woefully bad, and it was clear he was not the same pitcher from years past. He allowed an astounding 23 earned runs in just 6 innings of work in his first 3 starts, all of them of course being losses. He was demoted to the bullpen, where he began to turn things around, but a combination of hip issues and shoulder soreness kept him on the sidelines for the 2009 season. He got his World Series ring, but unlike prior playoff runs, he was no longer a huge piece of the team's success, and they chose to let him go after the 2009 season. His injury woes would continue from here. He signed with the Nationals, but missed all of 2010 rehabbing his shoulder, and then he returned in 2011 and made 11 solid starts, but his average velocity had plummeted below 90 miles per hour. Hamstring issues derailed his 2012 season, and he missed out on the Nationals playoff roster. Then, a minor league deal with the Yankees in 2013 that never panned out, 6 poor starts with the Blue Jays, another minor league deal with the Reds, and then silence. It looked as though the sun had set on Wang's unfairly short career. When most pitchers likely would have called it a career and gone home at this point, Wang remained determined. He was not only carrying the weight for himself, but for his entire home country, and he endured 3 years of grueling rehab to try and make it back to the big leagues. There's a truly fantastic documentary called Late Life that details this long 3-year journey for him. He got more minor league deals with the Braves and Mariners, and even found himself pitching the Atlantic League. He reworked his mechanics, gained some velocity back, developed new pitches in a slider and changeup, and most importantly, maintained his health. After tossing over 130 innings in back-to-back AAA seasons, he finally got his shot in 2016 with the defending champion Royals. He broke camp after a great spring training, and after 1,000 days away from a major league mound, he returned with a scoreless inning against the Twins on April 9th. That year, Wang tossed 53 innings with a 4.22 ERA for a mediocre team. Nothing to really give any mind unless you knew his story. Finally, at 36 years old, having spent years on the sidelines, Wang was able to go out on his own terms. He likely didn't achieve the things he was destined to before his untimely injuries, but his tenacity and determination allowed him to return to the mound one last time, and deservedly so. Wang's story is both tragic and triumphant, and looking back, who knows what Wang might have accomplished had he never ran the bases that day in Houston. Maybe his mechanics never get messed up and he becomes one of the great Yankees starters of the 2000s. Maybe he's a larger piece of the championship that year. Maybe he starts for years on end for other teams. But as said in the aforementioned documentary, every pitcher is one pitch away from never pitching again. And for Wang, this scary thought nearly became a harsh reality had he not gone through the difficult years of rehabilitation to return to the game that he loved. Wang's story is an awesome story, and we'll never see a pitcher like him again. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video.